everybody, and welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about Kitaria Fables today. This is a new independent game that our good friends at P-Cube are publishing. I'm playing it on Nintendo Switch, but it does release on just about everything. It's coming out on PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. And it launches a little over a day at the time that I record this. So, in all likelihood, by the time you're watching this video, the game's either imminently available or you can buy it now. I will have a review up on digitallydownloaded.net, but the long and short of it is that I really like this game. I am a fan of the genre that this belongs to. I have been a fan of Rune Factory and Harvest Moon for pretty much the entire time that I've been playing games. I actually had a copy of Harvest Moon back on the Super Nintendo, and that was the pioneer of the genre. And then I got into the Rune Factory series in a big way when they took Harvest Moon and added RPG elements to it. That seemed like a natural extension of my interest in the series, and it certainly proved to be that way. I basically pick up everything that is this kind of game these days. I'm also a big fan of the spin-offs, like Stardew Valley, everyone's played that, but also My Time at Portia and some of the more niche ones as well. I'm just a fan of the formulas that these games offer. I like the way that you slowly build up your little farm, you accumulate a greater range of crops, you get to go out on little adventures in the Rune Factory series, you get the action RPG elements, and Kitaria Fables really feels like a summary of everything that is great about this genre. The developers are obviously very much fans of it and have learnt from all of the highlights of the various games that have been released in this kind of genre over the years. And while you could probably argue that Kitaria Fables is a little bit too derivative for its own good, it is just such a very pleasant game to play. I don't think it's going to win Game of the Year awards or anything like that. It's not that kind of game. It's not pitched that way by any means. But for people that pick it up, I think you're going to get a good, solid chunk of play out of it, because it is just very hard to put down once you start playing it. So if you've played any game in this genre before, then you know basically what to expect from it. Once again, Kitaria Fables is quite derivative in its design, but there is a warm sense of familiarity from it that overcomes that sense of derivativeness, and it is very easy to get stuck into, especially if you are a fan of the genre. You'll just find it all immediately comforting and warming and familiar and comfy. It's a comfort game, this one. So anyway, you're given a house at the start of the quest in a tiny little village with a small plot of land that you can use to farm up various vegetables, carrots and potatoes and things if you want to. There's no real time pressure in the game, but at the same time you're not going to want to spend too much time focused on the farming, because you're also given a quest to do. You start out being told you have to protect this town from the monsters, because the monsters are getting more and more aggressive and there is the threat that they will start to attack the town. So your first job is to go and meet with a sage who happens to be a bear, a very cute bear indeed. And the sage tells you that you need to go on this mission to collect all these artifacts and so on and so forth. Before long, you'll end up in a city where you'll meet the tiger, that is kind of the warrior overlord and the hero of the world, who for whatever reason has been assigned a post in this kind of rural backwater that you're adventuring through. You'll go into some more caves, you'll collect more artifacts, and so on and so forth. Then you'll go back to your home. At the same time, you'll be farming an ever-growing range of things. You'll be collecting all these items that you get from both defeating enemies and from what you can scavenge around by chopping up wood and smashing up blocks and so on. You'll be using those items to craft food, to improve your equipment and level up and so on and so forth. What I did find quite interesting about this game is it doesn't really have a traditional leveling system, which I was a bit surprised about, because obviously it bills itself as an action RPG, and one of the things you naturally assume with action RPGs is that you're going to get experience levels. But perhaps because the developers didn't want to focus too much on the grind, there isn't that in the game. You certainly do face more difficult enemies as you go along, and you end up with an increasingly large range of magic spells and items and things to use to deal with those enemies. But the traditional grind is not there. There is still some grinding, because you still need to collect all these items, especially some of the side quests, which is typical RPG nonsense, like please collect 10 bee stingers because I need to do something with them. And those side quests always annoy me with RPGs. Well, they didn't used to, but these days I'm getting old and I've got too limited time to spend grinding up bee stingers, but they are there. At the same time, the game isn't really focused on those, and I think the developers have done a really good job of streamlining the experience as much as you want to. If you do want to complete every quest and just really lose yourself in this world for a long period of time and end up with great equipment and min-max your character to the nth degree, then you can do that. But at the same time, if you just want to enjoy your time with the game, make your own pace through it, don't feel too pressured to complete everything within it, and just get things done and finish the game, on your own terms. When you're done with it, you can put it away. Then the developers have given you that too, and I quite enjoyed that. I would like for more developers to really respect players' time by allowing them to really set their own agenda in the game like this. I think that leveling systems, as much as I love RPGs and all of that, leveling systems do have a way of really focusing the player into the experience and demanding a lot from them. You've got to keep getting the next level, you've got to be X level to do this part of the game, there are end bosses that require you to be Y level, you've got to go back and forth and to defeat the kind of optional bosses and take on the optional dungeons to get the good equipment, and it just rolls on and on. I don't think Kitaria Fables is really about that. It is much more about just enjoying your time in the game while you're there. That's not to say there isn't plenty of things to do, because there are. It is just that this is a nicely streamlined kind of Rune Factory experience. Another reason they may not have put a traditional leveling system in there is because there is a co-op experience, and with RPGs and co-op experiences, there is always the risk that one player will feel underleveled and not really participating, or another player may feel like they're being held back by their buddy or whatever. This game sidesteps all of that by making sure that everybody's on a roughly even playing field throughout, and they can feel like they're participating and a valued member of the co-op team as such. This game is a real joy to play with other people too, because it is so light and bubbly and doesn't ask you to sit there and reflect on the story that it's telling for hours at an end. You can just kind of flow through it and just enjoy your time with it with a friend without feeling like you're being pressured or anything like that. So that is certainly a good side to the design. One thing I think I would have preferred was if the game had more of a sense of humour. I got the sense, looking at the screenshots and whatever in lead up to the release, that it would have a bit of a bite to it. I'm not suggesting that it'd be an adult game by any means. We're not talking, Conker's Bad Fur Day or anything like that. But I did have the hope that there would be things in there to make you laugh. Like a good children's game or film will still have stuff in there that amuses the adults as well, because the reality is that in most cases when kids are playing games or watching movies, there will be some kind of adult around, and it always just encourages, it's good game design, I think, for games pitched at a younger audience to also have something for the older people, and this one misses a beat there. I think it's still perfectly enjoyable for adults to play. I know, because I am an adult, obviously, and I do enjoy playing it, but yeah, it just feels a little bit of a soft touch in terms of the humour side of things. The other thing that I thought was a bit mixed was the mechanics. In combat, this game feels really, really nice. I would have liked to be able to control the camera, because there are times that I lost my character on the scenery or whatever, but the reactions to the button presses is nice and smooth. The character rolls around when he needs to dodge quite well. The range of weapons is good and varied, as well as the spells. You do get a lot of tools to use in combat, and I liked that. So on that side of things, everything was really good. Unfortunately, the farming side of things was a little bit of a letdown, because it's a bit twitchy to actually direct your character. So especially at the start, where you're trying to water one little square of land at a time, it's very easy to miss that. And while we're talking about, a microsecond of time wasted when that happens, it's just frustrating to not have the character respond and move around and be able to water the bit of land that you want quite as easily as you want to, which is, that's a very minor complaint. But I guess that shows how much of a fan of Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons and whatever I am. I do have that expectation that the farming will be a little bit better than it is in this one. But that is minor, and it gets better as you play on anyway. Really, the only other problem with the Switch version is that loading times are extensive, and that is a problem that has been that you can apply to any Harvest Moon Rune Factory style game on the Switch. But every time you go into a new building, there is a loading screen. Every time you go into a new area, there's a loading screen. And a lot of the time, these spaces that you're moving around are not huge, so you do move between them quite quickly, and those loading times do become a bit of a drain. But again, these are minor criticisms. I really do think that this game is bright, charming, happy, pleasant, something very easy to play, and something very much worth playing for people that have ever enjoyed this kind of genre. So anyway, that's it for this video. Please do check out my review on digitallydownloaded.net for my more in-depth thoughts. Do let me know what you think about these games, not just Kitaria Fables, but also the broader genre. If you enjoy Harvest Moon and Rune Factory, tell me what you think. Do you like that? I guess if I'm going to put a question to people through this video, do you like when they add RPG mechanics to the kind of farming simulation thing, or do you think it detracts from the core appeal of Harvest Moon? That is your question to ponder over, and then hit me up in the comments to let me know. Other than that, please do mash that like and subscribe button if you've enjoyed this video. That way you'll get a notification every time I put up a new one. That would be good if you enjoy them. And if you do enjoy my work, please do consider backing me on Patreon. You can do so for just $1 a month. And in doing so, you do get a whole bunch of bonuses. You get a monthly magazine, which is 48 pages of in-depth looks into Japanese games and history and art and film and culture and all the rest. Everything that goes towards the Japanese game industry that we know and love, the whole cultural background of it, we do explore through that magazine. So please consider backing me for that. You also get visual novels, and I am getting closer to releasing my next one. It's quite a in-depth production that I've put a lot of effort into this visual novel. It's got some really great art from an amazing artist, and it is going to be full of content to enjoy. You'll get that for free as a bonus for backing me on Patreon. So it's a pretty good deal backing me on Patreon. You get games plus magazines and all for $1 a month. Alright, that's it for this video. Thanks very much. We'll see you at the next one.